The Irish post-punk band Fontaines DC has released their fourth new record, Romance, which we're going to see how it holds up. The band has released their debut back in 2019, Doggerel, with this and A Hero's Death kind of resembling more of this post-punky, more vibrant, rocky sound, and Skinty Fear has kind of been a shift to something a little different, but Romance really takes the cake, pushing besides the post-punk as we enter something that's more alternative, playing with some indie elements, playing with some synths, and we're going to see how this album holds up. So you start off with Romance on this record, which in my opinion is a great track. It's got this moody, slow build up to it, but you know something's coming from the end of it. The way the synths slowly arrange itself towards the end is nice. I love how slow and melodic this one starts off with. It gives it an interesting take, and you know there's going to be some classic Fontaines DC magic building up around this point. So Romance is good, I like this one. And then Starburster, the highly appreciated, highly anticipated single that did really well, and a lot of people have enjoyed it, and going through this record to finally understand the craze behind it, I can see why. Starburst is fun, pretty much the chorus gone about is none of your business, momentary blissness. I don't know, I like the fact that they use momentary blissness and business in this rhyme, because it does sound like something could be repetitive, but I just love the energy on it. It definitely has that post-punk sound, you know, from the band, but it's also pushing with higher ambitious ideas, and the fact that we've got some clean production as well, probably the cleanest I think Fontaines have gone for so far. I really enjoy how this one sounds, and Starburst is great. What a great single, what a great track. This one's definitely one of the best I think Fontaines have put out by far. It's a really good song. Here's the Thing, I really enjoy, one of my favourites as well. Another single, but they just did a good job with this one. The Here's the Thing chorus is just so incredible. It just levitates you. It's so ethereal, and the delivery just works great with the sort of aesthetic they're building up with it. I really enjoy this one. I think this is 3 banging tracks in a row, and I can definitely tell Fontaines are very ambitious and very, you know, adventurous when it comes to wanting to step into slightly new territory with their sound. And while some fans might not like the departure post-punk, I feel like stuff like this would be great to see the whole record go for. And you go into Desire, which this one is a bit slow as well, similar to Romance, but when it gets to the refrain, you get the synths build up, and it gives you this kind of like fun little dash of energy. It's like a little bit of dopamine just entered your system, and you're just kind of running on that before it chills down again. It's another good track, and I quite like this one. In the Modern World gives a lot more of a slower push, similar to Desire, but we get a lot more string arrangements to kind of add to the aesthetic, strings and a little bit of synths, and the slow guitar that slowly occurs and creeps later into the track is quite nice. It's another good track that I think it definitely works, and it's a fun, good old banger. Moving on to Bug, this one is fun. I think the I promise you bit is a nice way to kind of wrap the refrain into the verse. I like this one. I think it's got a great beat as well, probably one of my favourite bits of drumming throughout the album. It's a fun, vibrant one. And then Motorcycle Boy, again a bit kind of going into more of the slower, softer tracks, but it still has that Fontaines energy carried on from the previous stuff. And this one again is another fun track, and one that I think definitely pulls you in. It's a bit moodier, and I think that's kind of something that gives it quite a nice little bit of change of pace in some case, while also feeling refreshing and kind of, I don't know, traditional to the sound they're going for here. Sundowner is kind of bringing back to the bit more of the heavier sound, in some case bringing just more of the instrumental presence, and not necessarily heavy, but it's a nice moodier track again. I like in the mood they're bringing with this one. I think it's got a very uplifting chorus, not in the same way that Here's the Thing personally feels, but Sundown is great, and it's definitely probably one of my favourite tracks on the second half of this record. Horseness Is The Whatness is probably one of my least favourites. However, I do like this still. The strings are a bit more prominent to kind of build up the first half of the track, and then as you dive deeper you kind of get a little bit of a little bit more of that kind of moodier groove, but I just don't think it quite holds up or is quite as impactful as the previous tracks we've had. Just kind of sticking a bit like a sore thumb in my opinion for the second half. Second to last track, Kink brings back that post-punky sound that you'd hear in tracks like Starburster. It's really nice to kind of get a little bit more uplifting towards the end of the record, especially since the middle you kind of go for this more moody sound, which isn't bad, but it's nice to kind of get a little more variety like they're offering here, and it sounds great, it's crisp in my opinion. Yeah, Kink is fun. It's a good track. I just think the chorus works. And then finally, we're going into Favorite, which was one of the singles. To me, this is like the most indie sounding song they've put out. It definitely feels like something you'd hear on Radio X. It fits perfectly in the brand lineup of songs there, and that's not a bad thing. But I do think the push for this kind of indie sound is making the songs not as fun for me at least, or just as creative as they could be. I still think the record kicks ass, but it's just a few tracks like Favorite have kind of like warped my opinion a bit, and I would say Favorite might be one of my least favourites, ironically, but unironically, my brain's too melted to decide which one it is at the moment, but yeah, the album is a pretty good listen. I feel like if you enjoyed the more post-punk sound, you might get a kick out of this, but not in as much as someone who's looking for a more experimental push into something alternative, plays with indie elements, old elements, and the Simpson strings are also nice additions as well. Some punchy hooks, some great ideas. While I think the moodier songs can kind of be a bit of a drag at times, there's a lot of stuff that definitely makes this an interesting listen, and it's one I recommend. I think Fontaines DC, not their best record, but it is still another good one, and the production helps a lot make this one a good album for me. It's a 3.5 out of 5, quite enjoyed it. So I hope you'll enjoy, thank you so much for watching, and see you next video.